From wolf to woof, the origin of dogs. Hey there, dog lovers and curious minds. Welcome to our epic journey through time, where we'll uncover the incredible story of how wolves became our best friends. I'm host Name, and this is From Jungle to Couch, the amazing journey of dogs. Imagine this. 40,000 years ago, these woods weren't filled with the sound of barking pets, but with the howls of wild wolves. Hard to believe, right? But every Chihuahua, every Great Dane, every lovable mutt snoozing on a couch right now can trace their family tree back to these ancient predators. But how did we get from fearsome forest dwellers to fluffy lap warmers? Buckle up, folks, because we're about to embark on a tail-wagging tale of evolution, friendship, and a whole lot of good boys and good girls. Now let's set the scene. Picture a world without smartphones, without cars, heck, without even houses as we know them. Early humans were living in caves or simple shelters, hunting and gathering to survive. It was a tough life, and danger lurked around every corner. And out there in the wild, wolves. But not exactly like the wolves we know today. These were an ancient species, now extinct, but probably a lot like modern wolves. Big, strong, with sharp teeth and keen senses. These wolves were doing their own thing, living their best wolf lives. But then something interesting started to happen. Some of these wolves began hanging around where humans lived. But why? What's that smell? Is that leftover mammoth burgers? Don't mind if I do. That's right. These early wolf visitors were likely attracted by the easy meals they could find around human camps. Bones with bits of meat still on them, scraps of food. To a wolf, that's some prime dining. Now, not all wolves were brave enough to get close to humans. Most probably stayed far away. Smart move, considering humans were pretty good at hunting, and not always friendly to wild animals. But some wolves were a bit bolder. Maybe they were extra hungry or just extra curious. Little did these brave wolves know, they were taking the first steps on an incredible journey. A journey that would transform them from wild predators to our loyal companions and change human history forever. In our next episode, we'll explore how this tentative relationship between wolves and humans began to change both species. How did wild wolves start to become the dogs we know and love? Stick around to find out. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next part of our amazing journey. And hey, give your furry friend an extra pat from us. See you next time on From Jungle to Couch, the amazing journey of dogs. The first furry friendships. Look around this dog park. We've got retrievers fetching balls, poodles prancing around, and bulldogs. Well, mostly napping. But how did we get here? How did those first wolf visitors start to become our furry best friends? Let's go back to those early human camps. At first, humans probably tried to chase the wolves away. I mean, wouldn't you be a bit nervous if a wild wolf showed up at your campsite? But over time, something interesting started to happen. Humans began to notice that having wolves around could actually be pretty useful. You see, wolves have some superpowers that humans don't. They can hear and smell things from really far away. So if any dangerous animals or unfriendly human tribes were approaching, the wolves would notice first. They'd start growling or acting nervous, and that would alert the humans. It was like having a furry, four-legged alarm system. But here's where it gets really interesting. Not all wolves were equally comfortable around humans. Some were friendlier, less afraid. And guess what? These friendlier wolves got some perks. They got more food. They were less likely to be chased away or hurt. And because they got more food, they were healthier and had more puppies. Meanwhile, The really aggressive wolves, the ones that might try to attack humans, didn't do so well. They'd get driven away or, well, let's just say they didn't stick around. This process is called natural selection, and it's a big part of how animals change over time. But with these wolves, humans were influencing the process. We call this artificial selection, or selective breeding. Over thousands of years, these friendly wolves started to look different from their wild cousins. They got smaller, a bit easier to feed, and less scary to have around. Their ears got floppier and their tails got curlier. Their faces got shorter and, let's be honest, a whole lot cuter. But the changes weren't just on the outside. Their brains changed too. They got better at understanding human gestures and emotions. They became more playful, keeping puppy-like behaviors even as adults. At some point, these animals weren't really wolves anymore. They were becoming dogs. Now, you might be wondering, when exactly did we get the first real dogs? Well, that's a tricky question, and scientists are still arguing about it. But we found some really old dog bones that give us clues. In Germany, scientists found a dog skull that's about 14 to 200 years old. It was buried with 2 humans, which tells us these dogs were already pretty important to people. But there might have been dogs even earlier than that. In Siberia, they found some bones that might be from a dog from 33,000 years ago. The thing is, these really old bones are hard to identify for sure. They have some wolf-like features and some dog-like features. It's like looking at a photo of your grandpa as a baby. You can see some family resemblance, but he doesn't look exactly like he did as an adult. As humans spread out across the world, they took their new doggy pals with them. Dogs ended up just about everywhere people went: Europe, Asia, Africa, and eventually the Americas and Australia. In different places, dogs adapted to different jobs and environments. In cold places, dogs grew thick, warm coats. In hot places, they tended to have shorter hair. Some dogs became great at helping with hunting, others were good at guarding, and some were just good company. And that's how we started getting different types of dogs in different parts of the world. In the Arctic, dogs like huskies and malamutes developed to pull sleds and help with hunting. In Tibet, big furry dogs like the Tibetan Mastiff protected flocks from predators. In Egypt, sleek sighthounds like the Saluki were bred for hunting in the desert. And in China, small dogs like the Pekingese were bred to be companions for royalty. It's mind-blowing to think that every dog, from the tiniest Chihuahua to the biggest Great Dane, can trace their ancestry back to those first brave wolves that decided to hang out with humans. In our next episode, we'll explore how dogs became an integral part of ancient civilizations, from Egypt to Rome to China. How did our furry friends shape human history? Stick around to find out. If you're enjoying this journey through doggy history, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. And hey, why not share it with a fellow dog lover? See you next time on From Jungle to Couch, the amazing journey of dogs. Dogs in ancient civilizations. Imagine you're in ancient Egypt. The pyramids are gleaming in the sun. The Nile is flowing and... Is that Anubis? Nope. It's just a really fancy dog. Dogs were super important in ancient Egypt. They had a dog-headed god called Anubis who was in charge of guiding souls to the afterlife. Talk about a big responsibility. Some Egyptians even mummified their dogs when they died, just like they did with people. Now that's what I call puppy love. Meanwhile, in ancient Greece and Rome, dogs were valued as hunters, guards, and companions. They show up in lots of myths and stories. There's even a famous mosaic from Pompeii with a dog and the words "Cave Canem." That's Latin for beware of the dog. I guess some things never change, huh? But it wasn't all guard duty for Roman dogs. The poet Martial wrote about lapdogs that were so light and delicate that you might think them the work of Myron's hand. Myron being a famous sculptor. Sounds like these pups were living the high life. Across the world in ancient China, dogs were sometimes seen as good luck. Some emperors kept small dogs as pets, and these pups lived lives of luxury. The Pekingese, for example, was bred to look like a tiny lion and was exclusive to the imperial court. Talk about a royal treatment. But it wasn't all pampered pooches. In many parts of ancient China, dogs were also valued for their practical skills in hunting and guarding. And let's not forget about the Americas. Many Native American cultures had strong bonds with dogs long before Europeans arrived. Dogs were often used for hunting, pulling sleds, and even as a food source in some cultures during tough times. The Aztecs even had a dog breed called the Xoloitzcuintli, which they believed could guide souls through the underworld. These hairless dogs are still around today and are considered a national treasure in Mexico. It's amazing to think about how dogs have been a part of human civilization for so long, isn't it? They've been our guardians, our hunters, our companions, and even our spiritual guides. But as impressive as all these ancient roles were, dogs were just getting started. In the Middle Ages, we'd see dogs take on even more specialized jobs. Hunting dogs, herding dogs, guard dogs, and even turnspit dogs? What in the world is a turnspit dog, you ask? Well, you'll have to tune in to our next episode to find out. From the palaces of ancient China to the pyramids of Egypt, dogs have been by our side through it all. They've shaped our cultures, our religions, and our daily lives in ways we're still discovering. If you're enjoying this historical journey with man's best friend, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. And hey, why not leave a comment telling us about your favorite ancient dog fact? See you next time on From Jungle to Couch, the amazing journey of dogs, medieval mutts and Renaissance rovers. Picture this. It's the Middle Ages in Europe. Knights are clanking around in armor, castles are popping up all over the place, and dogs, well, they're busy doing all sorts of jobs. During this time, which lasted from about 500 to 1500 AD, dogs had a wide variety of roles. You had your hunting dogs, your herding dogs, your guard dogs, and even some pampered lap dogs for the nobility. Hunting was a big deal for medieval nobles, and they bred dogs specifically for different types of prey. You had your scent hounds for tracking, your sight hounds for chasing, and your retrievers for, well, retrieving. Some popular medieval hunting breeds that are still around today include the bloodhound, known for its amazing sense of smell, and the greyhound, prized for its speed. But it wasn't all about hunting. As agriculture became more organized, herding dogs became super important. Breeds like the Old English sheepdog were developed to help manage sheep and cattle. These clever canines could do the work of several human shepherds. And let me tell you, these dogs were smart. They could respond to different whistle commands to round up the herd, bring strays back, or even separate animals. Talk about multitasking. Now, remember how I mentioned turnspit dogs last time? Well, here's where they come in. In the kitchens of large houses and inns, there was often a big wheel attached to the wall. A small, long-bodied dog would run inside this wheel, kind of like a hamster wheel. This wheel was connected to a spit, a rod for roasting meat over a fire. As the dog ran, it turned the spit, cooking the meat evenly. These dogs, often called vernipators, had a pretty tough job. They worked in hot, smoky kitchens and had to run for hours at a time.
Thankfully, the job of turnspit dog doesn't exist anymore.